This is going to be pure content, and it's literally hot off the press. I actually spent this afternoon working with a very successful business person right now. And what's exciting about this, I spent the afternoon with a high profile person, and I talked him through what we call the expert success formula. And what's cool about this formula, that if you brand new or if you a high caliber semi-celebrity, you can check against the blueprint, against the formula, to actually see if there's any way you can improve your positioning and therefore improve your impact in the marketplace. And I actually want to start
So
the presentation right now and
hang
get
on.
going. Yeah.
Before we do that,
Okay.
because obviously I don't think we should necessarily say who you've been hanging out with, but he is a past client of mine as well, so he's a good mate of mine too, and has gone on to make, I think we could safely say, millions of pounds in the last couple of years in the property industry, so
Yes,
he's a good guy
yes,
to know.
yes.
But I just wanted to frame up for everyone on the call why I asked you to come and do this presentation tonight. And obviously, listen, I want to thank everybody for being on the call, and secondly, I want to thank the fact that you're giving up your time this evening to give and teach pure content. The good news for everyone on the call and listening into this is that there is no sales pitch at the end of it to watch out for. There are no catches. There is just pure teaching, which really Daniel and I are really excited about. And why are we doing this? So, well, a couple of reasons. One is obviously Daniel's a very good friend of mine. We've known each other over 4 years. I think, in fact, the first time you ever saw me live on stage was almost exactly 4 years ago, I think, till a couple of months ago, when you wrote a blog about it.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
then you thought,
Yeah, exactly. And it was interesting that the same words that I took from your presentation back in 2006 is actually the exact things that you said again, and that just showed me that these are some kind of principles that are timeless, and it's almost like I've forgotten and I came back to them. And I'm also very happy and proud to say that my business partner James and we're actually now in a private coaching relationship with you, which I would say the last 4 months have been incredible and given me a lot more clarity of where we want to go with this. And this expert success formula actually has partly been shaped also by your input. So I wanna
thank you.
uh, say where credit is due. Definitely, thanks for that, Paul.
Well, that's part of why I wanted to get everybody, and this isn't a call we've opened up to everybody. This is just to people that I have a relationship with my customers, members of the Business Wealth Club. And for me, we re-engaged a while back, and I asked you to write a chapter in my new book, Secrets of the Wealth Accelerators. And I was really just blown away by the power of the information that you shared around there. And one thing that's always impressed me, because we've kind of been around each other for over 4 years, as I've said. We've seen each other at different events. We've spoken on stages, at other people's stages, in fact. And you've come and spoken at the Business Wealth Club in Oxford at one of our
Hmm.
open days. And I think one of the things that's always impressed me is that throughout the whole of that time, you've had a very consistent online brand, online message, and great positioning. And I always like to pay attention to what other people in the marketplace are doing. And when I got the opportunity to obviously work with yourself and James, putting together what we've done now, it's been really, I've loved the last 4 months. I've had a blast. It's been really exciting. And I think what we've got now is some of the best stuff that I think is currently out there in the industry. So
Fantastic.
this is a real treat for everyone on this call. And we are, this is not going to be available as a free replay to anyone else. So if you missed it, you miss out. But as one of the wealth accelerators, it's a real privilege to get to share this information with everyone on the call. So, should we get cracking? Should we
Yeah,
dive
yeah.
in and
Can't
stop teasing
wait.
everybody?
Can't wait. And it's hard to stop you once you're in flow, Paul. So that's it. I'm gonna mute you now, and I'm gonna get on with some content.
Let's
Okay.
go.
So I'm gonna quickly just open my screen. I just want to quickly double check that people can see my screen, and once that's confirmed, we can literally rock and roll. So, James, can you just let me know, because my control panel just disappeared, and let me just know if we're there and ready. Paul, you can
I
see my
can see
screen?
it.
Oh, yeah,
Yep,
perfect. All
yeah, I
right,
can see
I
it.
reckon everyone else will. Okay, guys, so this is really network premiere, so to say, and I want to delve into a couple of subjects which might be familiar to you, and if they are familiar to you, please apologize if I show and go over stuff you already know. Just tick it off in your mind, say, great, I already know that, but I will also be sharing a couple of nuggets, bit of information you might not be familiar with, and one or two distinctions for successful people can make a massive difference. We're not looking for reinventing reinventing the wheel here. I just want to share with you a few things which I observed in the market over the last many years by working with hundreds of individuals and businesses. What I'm showing you here right now is James Cahn's personal brand page, and there's a couple of questions we need to ask ourselves straight away. Why does James Caan have this page? If he is a billionaire, why does he bother having an online presence? And secondly, what can we learn from that way this page is designed, and what are distinctions that we can possibly take for ourselves? Now I'm showing you this page, and this is a person that all of us know. Anybody living in the UK would know of James Caan. You would possibly know about some of his businesses, some of his ventures. But there's a key reason here, because James knows that when people put his name into Google, he wants to control what people find about him. And not every successful person out there does that. We call it reputation management, and that is a term you will hear again and again, because you want to make sure that the online existence of you, which is not you, I want to be clear here, we call it the online avatar, your online persona is controlled by you and not by random events that happen in the news, in social media, people tweeting and blogging about you. So this is just one example here of a personal branded page. Also notice that the domain name is James-Caan, and that's just one example. Now here's another one. That's a lady called Katie Freiling, and you might not know of Katie depending which industry you're working in, but again we can see similarities. Now you have not heard of Katie before, but landing on her page, katiefreiling.com, immediately allows you to do a few things. Find out about Katie, learn about her products, book her for speaking gigs, and of course, very important, an opt-in element. That means you can get some information from Katie in exchange for name and email address, which does two things, of course. Number one, build you a prospect database, and secondly, allow your prospects to sample your quality of service, product, or information. That's Katie, and I just want to run through a few more before I go more into the meat of what this is all about.
What does she do, actually, just out of interest? I mean, she's a business coach?
Yes, indeed. She's an internet marketing coach, and a lot of her work is around doing what you're passionate about, making money from what you love doing, which is, by the way, everyone, we all seek to ways to make more money with less work. And I don't mean less hours, and I want to share that with you in a second as well. Less of what feels like work, and of course having fun while we do it, being passionate about it, which is really key. There's a gentleman called Jonathan Budd, an American multimillionaire, and again, what can we see here, or what can we learn from his brand? Similar, smiley face on the page, a way to learn about Jonathan by watching a video message, and of course the old opt-in. And what Jonathan's done here, you can see his Facebook updates directly on his blog page. Again, Jonathan wants to make sure if somebody looks for Jonathan Budd, that he controls the experience people have about him. And you got to understand, 21st century, people don't care about CVs. This is not how you get business. People Google you if you want it or not. They will type in your name, and you want to make sure that this experience is controlled by you. A couple more examples. Brandon Bashar, one of our joined friends, and actually Paul, you had the privilege hanging out with him very recently in the US.
Yep,
he is a proponent for this thing called the expert industry, and I will talk about that industry in just a few seconds and what online brand has got to do with that. Again, similar, Brandon smiley face, ways to find out more about Brandon, watch a video, put in your name and email address, and get information in there, and all that has some similarities. It's all about the people. Now here is a person you might have come across or not. His name is Daniel Wagner. Okay, if you don't know him and if you Google him, that's what you will find. And guess what? In that case, not smiley face, more like serious, serene face. But again, you can find out more about me by watching videos, reading my blogs, or indeed subscribing to the Free Tips newsletter. And why do I put that picture right there with everybody else? Because understand, if people don't know who you are, it doesn't matter. If you don't know who James Caan is, Brandon Bashar, Daniel Wagner, Paul Avins, Katie Freiling, people will have the first experience about you, most likely through an event, a mention through somebody. And the second experience for you will be via your online representation called your online avatar. And I want you to understand, you have to start controlling what people will know and see and find out about you. Here's another last example from my little set of famous and half famous people. Deborah Meaden. Why do these multimillionaires bother creating a personal brand on the internet? And I think the answer is very obvious, because it is and does make business sense. They don't do it just for ego, they do it for business sense, and it does make business sense because people actually here in this page, Deborah is actually looking for investors for her venture called Economy or Economy. So yeah, check it out if you want. If you got a spare evening, nothing else to do, check out her interesting video. So what I'm here about to share, and I hope the pace is alright. I'm extremely excited about this content, and I want to talk fast and want to get all the content in. Is how you listening tonight can exploit the expert success formula to make more money, that is, work less and have more fun. And as I said earlier, these are three of my big goals. They are principles that I have written on a big piece of paper, which hangs here, just top right of my computer. How can I serve more people and therefore have fun in what I do, work less? That means I don't mean less hours. I'm happy to put the hours in, but I want to make sure that the work I do is what I'm passionate about. And of course, as a simple, logical conclusion, make more money. So
can I just jump in here?
Yeah,
go
for it.
For 1 second. I just wanted to share how profound some of this stuff is in terms of, I was on a quick Skype call before you came in earlier tonight with a friend of mine who applying pretty much the things we're going to teach tonight, but almost just organically got to that point of learning. He's taken his personal income in the last 2 years from £40,000 a year to just over £470,000 this year.
Wow.
And he's become an absolute expert in an industry. And he does this all from a laptop, traveling around the world, and his cost base is less than, he told me it was his business break even was £450 a month.
That is ridiculous.
It's
amazing.
Just a crazy new economy, so it's just so exciting. So.
Thanks, Paul, for mentioning that. And it's always good to put some case studies in. I'm going to share with you later 2 or 3 case studies. But in my personal story, I've been able to almost double since I started this industry in 2005. Double the money that I'm able to generate, and I'm still, as you know, running a shoestring operation here. We're very excited scaling up now, building what we call a proper business. And it's no disrespect for what I've done so far, but I want to be able to have better operations to get this out there. But the real challenge we have in the marketplace is that you might have been unique up to now out there with your product or service, but I can almost guarantee whatever you're offering is most likely today a commodity, and is most likely really subject to copycats. Every content can very quickly be copied, and here's a prediction, here's a crystal ball, that a slide which I didn't do, which is the missing slide between this and the next one. My crystal ball, my prediction for 2012 and beyond is that information by itself will be strongly devalued. I actually will say that the value of information will go to zero, and this is an economic law. If there is unlimited supply of something and there is free delivery of something, then the value of this information will go down. That's very logical. And what I see coming is that information, however valuable you think it is, and however long it took you to distill it, it will actually not be worth very much in the marketplace, because people have everything on their fingertips if they want to. So we're looking here at Santa, who thinks he was unique last year. Now, what happens if this image appears? When suddenly you have thousands of Santas, all indistinguishable, really. And in 2012, you got to start thinking, how can I stand out from the copycats? And how can I do something that's not just content? And I don't know if you spotted the one Santa that's standing out here. Paul, can you spot the Santa standing out?
The one in blue.
Yes.
The one in blue.
Yes. And actually, that is a real picture from Liverpool, where all the Santas, actually, they do the Santa Dash. And what they realized, that there's so many red Santas. And remember, that's also the support colors of the football team. So some Santas started dressing up in blue to stand out. And I just found that quite interesting, because, once there is too many of something, you got to do and think about what's unique. And there's some really great news and some bad news in that picture. And I share the great news in just a second. So here is what you can do to degree to stand out, and I've written a book here called My Journey in the Machine, which talks about my journey and publishing your knowledge, putting it into a form that people can consume is, by the way, a very useful and one of the key tools that we teach. I'm working with James right now on a book called The Expert Revolution, which is all about what we're talking tonight: how to make more work less, have fun, and do it now because the time is right. It is the time where you gotta grab that torch, start leading from the front, start creating your own following and getting your message out there in the best way you can. And you can do that not by random acts of confusion, but actually by following a simple formula. So publishing
Okay,
books
just
is a great way. Okay.
very quickly for the members who are on this call, and there are quite a lot of them. I want to let them know that this book, we've already agreed, haven't we, that the month it's published, it's going to become a book of the month for the members. So get excited, because you're going to get, we can even possibly persuade Daniel to sit in a room for more than 10 minutes and sign some of them as well. So
I'd love to, Paul, because I mean my big mission, and we've written it down as part of our goals for the year, is we want to get 10,000 of these books into people's hands, and that is, as you know, a threshold also for attracting some normal kind of publishing houses, because we will, as many people do, self-publish this. But I want this book in many people's hands, because you and I know that the economy world, or at least the North Atlantic economy, is going through some real kind of turmoil, and we need hundreds and thousands of people to step up and take leadership, position themselves in the marketplace, and start making a difference around here. And that's what you and I are both very passionate about. So let's go right here. What is this industry that we talked about, this expert industry, this crazy place? In my eyes, in my estimation, what I've observed, it's a very buzzing marketplace of highly paid professionals. Now, why should you be excited? Because in this world right now, there's very few marketplaces that are buzzing with excitement and profit, okay? There is some different kind of buzz going on in certain marketplaces, but I'm talking about a growth, a massive growth area. If you know the bell curve, if you know this kind of curve where we have a new idea, a new product being brought to market, early adopter stuff going into mainstream until it reaches saturation, this is early adopter stuff. You're hearing this information right now, and I would say to you, grab a space in that place called the expert industry, and it works in all markets and any niche. So if you're listening tonight, being a photographer or a business coach, or if you do, I don't know, bake pretzels, it doesn't actually matter.
Chiropractor.
Yes.
Chiropractor,
whatever you do, guys out there, this expert industry pervades all markets and niches, and it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Now, there's enough for all of us. A few crumbs off the table of that industry can feed you and your family, and very, very well, and leave a legacy as well. Now, what feeds that? What feeds that need for experts is partly the real breakdown in trust with organizations like banks, governments, and the standard way of doing things has broken down. The last few crashes in the stock market have literally demonstrated that we looking for people to lead us. We don't look for companies anymore. We look for people, and even some of the larger corporates today have to bring their CEOs out and let us know who are they. We want to learn about them. We want to know who we can trust, and this is something that we can all take advantage of. Now, why would you?
I think just before I just
Yeah,
want to stop you
go
for
for
a
it.
second, because I just think there's such an important point there that about how trust has been destroyed, and trust in government and trust in big business, and it's absolutely been destroyed in the last 2 years. And we don't trust the media, and we sure as hell don't trust the government, and we don't trust big companies anymore. And therefore, there's this hunger, and I think I'd use that probably word, is a hunger for people who are authentic and have credibility, because we don't believe the credibility that's been given to us by the media, or the credibility that's been given to us by things like the political system. So I just think it's such an important point.
Thanks, Paul, and I fully agree and endorse that. And how was that possible? It was, of course, possible through the internet, because suddenly you can have a micro niche, a very narrow market segment, but through a worldwide audience reach, you can create and find your own tribe. And actually, I will tell you in a minute that it works the other way around now. Instead of you trying to go out and find people to follow you, you position yourself, you light your fire, you got your beacon out there, and you keep repeating that message through automated communication, and people will find you. And that is such a difference. This is the whole world turned literally upside down. In the old days, you were trying to go out and find people that find out what you do. Now it's the other way around. Just keep telling your message, and you will, through attraction and through these cool tools like social media and other aspects of the internet, you will become that thing that people want to follow. You want to become that message, but you gotta light that fire. You gotta go out there and burn that beacon. Otherwise, they don't know you're out there, and then of course they can't find you. But let's talk and why you out there listening today to me want to become an expert. Now, I think that it's worth contemplating that proposition, because if you want to get paid more for what you love doing, then this is the right place for you. And you want to get chosen instead of keep chasing. And this is just this little element I told you about. You want people to know you out there and naturally feel an affinity and naturally feel that they want to work with you, they want to follow you because you're a leader, you're an expert out there. And as I said earlier, Paul and I both agree strongly. We need more leaders, we need more experts going out there and saying, hey, you know what, that's what I stand for. So I want you to consider becoming a leader and inspiration in your industry. And that works in any industry. You can become the expert, the leader in the pretzel baking industry. And I don't know why I'm going about pretzel. Do you like pretzels, by the way, Paul?
Don't like pretzels at all. You've been into some weird shop again, mate.
Yes, okay. So let's move on. Move on. Thirdly, and this is really where I come to some very, very simple strategies, which doesn't mean necessarily they easily implemented, but they're very simple to understand. I want you to just consider three things. I want you to, number one, position yourself in the market to command premium prices. This is how you could become an expert. The positioning is by the word itself a distinction. It's a deliberate choice. So you choose what you want to stand for, and you choose who you want to attract by doing that. And I would strongly urge you to go for premium prices, go for affluent markets, go for the high value. And I'll show you in a minute why that makes so much sense. There's a little graphic I put together for you, so see that. Number two, the second component of this simple three-step formula is I want you to contemplate selling some of your products and services in an automated fashion. Now, if you're new to internet marketing, if you're new to digital products, membership sites, fulfillment houses, then please bear with me. But I tell you right now, you could be selling some of your stuff, and this is some of your knowledge, some of your expertise, some of what you sell one-to-one or sell through your shop and through your widget outlet. You can sell it automated, and I need you to contemplate doing that, to become an expert, and that's part of a little formula we share. Number three, I want you to be...
Just hang on a second, I'm just going to interrupt you. Sorry, I have to do this. So just let me put a bit of context on that to everybody on the call. So I was recently just chatting to a business coach in Australia who last year did $1.5 million on his own with a virtual PA, and 75% of that was all done with automated programs and training. I also have a friend of mine who's in the Secrets of the Wealth Accelerators, a guy called Andrew, who teaches about webinars, and he's got a fully automated training system to teach people how to do webinars. And he sent me a message. He's been on 5-week vacation with his family to Fiji, and while he was on vacation in Fiji, his revenue was up over 120% on this time last year while he was lying on a beach.
Wow.
So, we talk about some of that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's inspiring.
That's
right?
nice.
We talk about some of that. Yeah, but you have to also, I think, believe it's possible, and it's possible for you. I mean, I think a lot of us believe, we've heard these stories before, and we think, yeah, that's possible. But the question is it possible for you? And I think the first thing you've got to do is actually believe that it's possible for you to have that kind of a business.
I fully agree. And Paul, I mean, let's put it into very archaic, if there's the right word, context. If you want to harvest a crop, okay, you got to sow the seed. Very, very simple equation. Every farmer, everyone in the world would know if you want to have a great harvest in autumn, which is in business terms revenue, profit, money, things to spend and enjoy, then you got to sow the seed. Now, in the old world economy, in the agricultural age, there was only one way to do it. You actually go out and you put that seed into the ground. Now, later on, we developed machinery to keep leverage. But today, in the world of internet, some of that stuff can be fully automated. That means that's sowing the seed, that lead generation, that growing a prospect into a client until you work with him one-to-one, if that is your model, can be totally automated. And you have to consider doing that, otherwise you are a fool running around selling your time for money, which is the worst model in the world. Doesn't matter what rate. I mean, nobody out there can make millions of dollars, selling one-to-one time. It just doesn't make sense. You've got to make sure.
Unless you're a former prime minister or president, in which case you probably can get away with it. But let's be honest, that's a very, very narrow niche market.
Yeah, it reminds me of a friend of mine when I asked him, he asked his kids what he wants to become, and his son said, "I want to be the Pope." I mean, that's a very narrow chance, okay? There's not many positions out there, and I don't know why he wants to be the Pope, by the way. It's almost as mysterious.
Let's not answer that question.
As the pretzel shop, but I suppose he wants unlimited power and wealth, so that's maybe why. But let's play with the realistic stuff that's out there. And the third thing, you want to build a loyal following and maximize lifetime value. LTV, I'm sorry if I used it, I just didn't want it to go over 2 lines, my third bullet point. So LTV stands for lifetime value, lifetime customer value. So you have to build a loyal following. And that really means that you got to stand for something. Loyalty can only come from standing for something and therefore standing against other things. And that is for many people scary. In our model of the world, in the success formula, we call it polarization. And this is something I want to urge everyone to do. If you want to do business with everyone and please everyone, that's not going to work, and it's going to work a lot less next year and in the years to come. So I would urge you to take a strong stand and say, this is what I'm standing for, and therefore this is what I'm standing against. You can see, for example, in the corporate world, Apple has done it very well. Apple had the adversary, the antagonist, which was the PC guy, and we're the Apple guys. We're the cool, creative guys. You are the nerdy technical guys. So they made a clear point that who we stand for and who do we stand against. And that, of course, polarizes the market, which helps you to create loyalty in the marketplace. And I hope you apologize. It's a 90-second lesson in building loyal followings, but I think that example illustrates it quite well. Cool. I'm carrying on, and I want to talk to you right now about, are you an expert? I mean, I assume at this point, if this was done a presentation in a room, I would say, hands up if you want to be part of that industry. And people would more likely say, you know what, Dan, I think you made a compelling case, because it looks like I can work less, earn more, have more fun, okay? It looks like I need to do that because the next years is going to be hard if I don't do it, so I think I made that case clear. But let me ask you, right now listening, you are an expert in your field. So let's say you are a business coach, and actually Paul is one of those business coaches. Now Paul knows, and this is a scale, by the way. This scale works in any industry. 0 means he knows nothing about being a business coach, and 100% means he knows absolutely everything about being a business coach. Now, Paul will be somewhere along this line, and I would say, from my experience, he's very much towards the top of that. But let's say you're not as experienced and successful as Paul, and you say, you know what, I'm down there about 25%. I know 25% there is to know about business coaches. Now, here's the good and the bad news. On the left, you would agree with me, hopefully. Let's say if you believe that. I believe that if you look at the distribution of knowledge in any market, then you would say that there's most people know a little bit about a market and about a field or industry. And the more you go into knowing 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 or 100%, the less and less people are in that range. So this graph on the left demonstrates people, and we can surely assume and surely see that the smallest amount of people know a lot, and most amount of people, a high majority, knows a little bit about a market. Is that clear, Paul? Does it make sense?
Yeah, I think for me, I think that it's a classic case of kind of 20% or even less. I'd say 5% of the market now know 95% about their specific industry or niche, and yet they're making probably 95% of the money in that market. And in the middle ground, it's kind of mediocre. Zig Ziglar used to say, "Who wants to be average? It's the worst of the best and the best of the worst." And he used to say, in the average space is where you get, it's where you get killed, because There is no compelling proposition. There is no unique selling point. There is no understanding of the principles that allow you to separate yourself from the crowd. And you know when you meet a master, if you train and you go to the gym or go to martial arts or do anything like that, you know when you meet someone who's a master in their profession or their sport, you know it
Totally.
because of the way they communicate, the way they carry themselves, the way they do their job or their profession. You know they're a master. And if you're not that, then you're fighting in the middle ground of mediocrity, and ultimately the only way people fight in that space, because they don't know any better and they don't understand anymore, is they try and fight on price.
Listen,
Because they don't
exactly.
understand anything else. So,
Exactly the point. Exactly the point. I mean, if you look at these little red arrows here, let's look at the one right at the bottom. At the bottom, you have this horizontal line, the red line, which is the amount of competition you have. It's very obvious that there are thousands of people, or millions possibly, in your marketplace with that level of knowledge. And the arrow that points down, that's the amount of people you can teach. Now, this is really, that's the good and the bad news. I mean, there are some people you can teach who know less than you. They're obviously below your level of knowledge. And with a bit of smokes and mirrors and a bit of marketing, you can maybe teach a few people at your level and slightly beyond, if you've got some great strategies. But in essence, you have massive competition and you got a small amount of people to teach. And to aggravate your pain even more, this is the distribution of money in the marketplace, okay? And you might think this is unfair, correct? But as Jim Rohn always says, life doesn't respond to need; it responds to deserve. And this is the wealth distribution according to knowledge. So it doesn't matter where you are along the scale; you can make money. But if you look at this graph, I would ask you, where do you think you should be sitting? And I think you will be all agreeing with me that it is towards the bottom is the hardest place, towards the top is the best place to be. And this is all just based on your know-how, but of course also on your positioning. Because if
it's
people...
also, I'd actually say there's one other component in there that doesn't get talked about very much, which is how much effort and work you put in. Because the gentleman you were with today,
Yeah.
okay, without question, absolutely, has put in 7 years worth of effort. You said to me after you met him, it's 7 years of his life to get his business to where it's at. Exactly. And if you read, I can't remember which Malcolm Gladwell book it is, I think it might be Blink, but where he talks about the 10,000 hour effect.
Yeah.
And he talks about the fact that it takes 10,000 hours, and they use the great example of the Beatles, and how they would used to play for 8 hours a night in Hamburg, 7 nights a week.
That's how they sped up. That's how they became the overnight success, correct?
Right, but I've often said you have to be the right person. People say you have to be in the right place at the right time, and I say I've got a distinction for you on that, and it's this: you have to be the right person with the right skills in the right place at the right time. Because just being in the right place at the right time isn't enough. If you don't know what to do and you don't know how to execute it, and more importantly, you don't have the ability to pull it off, then you can know that you're in the right place at the right time and just be unbelievably frustrated. And I think there are a lot of experts, or there are a lot of people who aspire to be that, and they know they're in the right place, they know they're at the right time, but what they lack is the skill to be able to really execute to get the returns that they get. Like the gentleman I was talking to this evening, I kid you not, in 2 years, so over 40,000 to over 400,000.
That's
incredible. But I've seen how he spent the last 5 years of his life working his absolute tail to the ground to master a very, very, very specific skill that the market would pay for. So guess what? You know what? He's getting the payback for that. So I just think, for me, I just wanted to add those couple of distinctions because I think that slide's incredibly powerful. In fact, thanks to Roger, who's already texted me in this evening and said loving the content so far. So
awesome.
That's good feedback.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
Thanks,
I think what you just pointed out is a crucial piece, and what I want to say is that you can see I spent about, and I know it doesn't look like it, but I spent about a week over this graphic because I wanted to make sure it illustrates so many things in one point. And why this arrow, the arrow between 0 and 100 is right in the middle, because the two sides are actually unrelated. There are a lot of experts out there who know everything but make no money. Would you agree, Paul?
True.
And this is
Yeah,
because,
well, far too many. Far
yeah,
too many.
because they don't know how to position themselves. They know how, but they don't know how to position themselves. They have the knowledge, but they actually have no clue how to do the other two pieces, which is branding themselves and creating that audience. So knowledge by itself, and that's the good news for you out there. You might not be the most knowledgeable person out there, but with a bit of branding knowledge and with a bit of expertise, you can actually outperform financially many of the people who might know everything. So there is,
Okay.
as Paul said, a very good combination of skills
And
necessary.
we're gonna give people some of those things tonight, aren't we? In terms of a few of the kind of techniques on how to do some of this stuff.
Not so much techniques, but more like a strategy. So it's not tactical, but
Okay.
there's some stuff in there. So just to
Great.
highlight and reiterate that little proposition once more, so you're very, very clear, at the bottom is the least money and the biggest competition. And that is very clearly associated with your knowledge. And of course, on the top, we got the smallest competition, the highest amount of money distributed amongst less people. And that's why it's so
Yep.
important to position yourself clearly as an expert on the top. So
Cool.
let's go and look at the expert success formula. This is the three pieces that you need to not say master, but at least get a really good understanding and a good implementation in. And this is what we created, is the step-by-step blueprint to join the expert industry and take advantage of this incredible trend that is sweeping the planet right now. Step one is creating a personal brand. I've shown you at the beginning a couple of examples what the online part of that is. Then talking about producing powerful products. With powerful, I mean that do what they say and say what they do, so people actually achieve and get results. And third is cultivating this buying audience. Now you can see here on the graphic, we've broken down those steps into 3 sub-steps
Okay.
for
Hang on a
every one of
second.
them.
Oh, hang on. You're going really fast. All right?
I'm sorry,
So
mate.
and I love the fact. No, it's cool. It's cool, and I love the fact that you're so excited. I just want to just take a breath for a second with everybody and say, okay. So let me just be clear, right? So we're talking about creating a personal brand to which there are 3 elements, which we'll get into in a minute.
Yeah.
Right. The producing powerful products, and I think that is important, because I think for a long time people have been teaching about certainly books, for example. A pet hate of mine is that people say, just get a book out, it's the best business card you'd ever get. And one of my friends, and I know is your friend now, Michael Lozier, said to me, if your first book or your first product that comes out is crap, then no one's going to buy your second product. So I think it is important to produce powerful products that give people tangible results. So I think that's a really important piece as well. And I do think I love the phrase cultivate a buying audience. I remember recently hearing a great story from James, in fact, was telling us, wasn't he, during one of our coaching sessions, how one of the world's top copywriters, Dan Kennedy, was asked to write for an internet marketer, and his first question was, how big is your list? And the client said, well, it's over 1 million people on my email list. And then Dan's second question was actually the key question, which is, how many people on that list have bought from you? To which his answer was about 1,500. So the reality is, the real buying audience that person had was 1,500. It wasn't the £1 million ego stroke of how many people had given him a name and email address. And I think sometimes in business, we can confuse the size of our database or our contact base or friends on Facebook or fans on the fan page with how big is our buying audience. And I think, for me, that's why I love that phrase, mate. So I just wanted to slow down for a second, because
Thanks.
you're flying through it and I've seen it before, but for everyone else on this call, this is the first time. So just give them a second, all right?
All right, guys. Deep breath. Take it all in. And by the way, every word on here has gone through careful consideration and reconsideration. So when we talk about creating a personal brand and having those 3 sub-points, or talking about the products, I mean, Paul had coined a phrase recently, which I wrote down into my journal, and he says, technology is a massive multiplier, but it only works if you have something worth multiplying. And I hope they were the words, maybe not the exact words, but the point is, yes, we can create great products, and it's great if you got 20 of those, but if the message you have is actually not doing what it's supposed to do, if it doesn't get people the results they're looking for, then even the best multipliers out there, the post leverage strategies, all those doesn't make sense. That's why powerful products, we mean a product that achieves what is set out to do, what it promises on the tin it has to literally fulfill. Otherwise, don't
Yep.
bother making it. Okay, this is not a
Absolutely.
marketing exercise.
Absolutely.
Cool.
No,
So
no, absolutely.
on the on those three steps, I do believe from everything we've seen with our clients, and I'm going to share 2 or 3 little case studies later. There is a sequence to that as well. I don't believe it makes much sense to build a list of people without having something to offer them. And I also don't think it makes any sense to build a list without having a clear positioning in the market, because there will be no loyalty if you just build a list. So I think number one has to be building a personal brand. Logically, out of that, you will attract an audience, but you need to create products you can actually offer that audience solutions, and the cultivating of that audience will be ongoing, your biggest concern. And that's really what I want to highlight. We will jump over to the mind map, but I just want to tell you and warn you there are quite a few sub steps. So I will only delve into the step number one, the personal brand, and give you a bit more on that. There's 2 more little concepts I want to share, and then we jump right into the mind map to go into a little bit of meat of the presentation.
Cool.
So that is one little slide I want to share with you, and I already given you an explanation that no matter where you sit along that scale from 0 to 100, you know you want to move upwards. That's no doubt. We all want to get better at what we do. But this is if you're an existing expert, to check against your existing business. Even the gentleman I met today found a few areas of his business he can improve on, matching against the expert success formula. If you are brand new to this industry and say, you know what, I want to become an expert, then hey, congratulations, and it's your lucky day, because instead of going out there blind falling into the potholes, you can actually follow a proven blueprint and a formula. And the world needs more of those people who are ready to take the lead. The success stories we have, and this is James and I have been running that success formula practically in our coaching programs for over 3 years, and we have literally created those experts in meditation, virtual assistants, web design, renovation, property investment, product creation, tennis, nutrition, alkaline diet, social media, public speaking, internet marketing, business coaching. Why I'm telling you that? Because it works in any industry. I want to make sure that you're sitting at home today on your computer and just say to yourself, you know what, I'm an expert, Daniel proved it to me, and I can do that. I can, in my industry, get better by positioning myself in the right way using a couple of simple things. So here's one gentleman we worked with. His name is Alan Robinson, and he's built a coaching practice helping veterinarians doing best practices. And we worked with him, we positioned him. Guess what? He's writing a book, and this is a book that has actually his coaching excellence in there. Great positioning tool. He's got a very powerful online presence with his website, and of course he was able to achieve fantastic results as a base of that. Now you wouldn't think consultants to the vet industry is even a market. I didn't know it existed. Okay, and he's doing incredibly well, and again he's doubled and doubled again in the last 2 years his turnover and profit. This gentleman is running an SEO traffic lab. He helps me with the search engine optimization. And again, with working with Richard, we built him a personal branded website, worked very hard on his LinkedIn profile, created a book with him. So if he now pitches against other businesses, of course, what do? I mean, more than any other industry, if I want to know if this man is worth its salt, what do you think? You Google him, correct? If you can't find him on Google, then I mean, he's not going to be a great SEO expert if he can't make himself rank. So that's really what we made sure that is working. And of course, he's got a very powerful book talking about some basic steps to get the local SEO, and that helps him win contracts. So the same formula in that. So 3 micro explanations I want to give to you. What is brand? And you can read, I read multiple books on the topic, of course, as I educated myself to become an expert in the market. But I have a very simple definition with you, and then some good news. The marketing dictionary would say that brand is name, term, design, symbol, or any other feature that identifies one seller's goods or services as distinct from those of other sellers. Now, you look at all the brands on the left, and I mean, it takes not much imagination. It takes years, and it takes costs millions to develop a brand like that. Now here's the good news for you. If we look at personal brand and why brand is so cool, this little graphic here talks about brand and unique product and price as a distinguishing feature. Let's look at BMW here. If you look at BMW, they got a very strong brand, and the uniqueness of their product and price, or price in particular, is almost insignificant. If people want a BMW, it doesn't matter if Skoda build a very similar car, correct? Because people want that BMW. Let's look at Argos on the right hand side of that. Product and price is much more important there, but the brand doesn't actually matter. People don't care if it's got there isn't even an Argos brand, it's just an outlet. And this is so amazing for you. Look where personal brand is positioned. The personal brand is far left, where you, and that's so cool, you don't have to work very hard, it's already you, okay? You can put yourself into this equation, and actually the price of what you got to offer and the uniqueness of your product is actually a lot less important than you think right now. And most of us have worked too hard creating a special product, a unique product, and make sure it's better than any other product out there, when you should have focused a lot more on building a unique brand experience about you, and then worry less about this unique product, because you can see here on that scale that you are far left. You're actually further left even from the most known brands in the world, where your positioning is the most important. Let's talk about products very quickly, and this is just one slide for you to make sure what we're talking about. This is, in my dictionary, a digitally or physically delivered solution to a problem or an answer to a question. And that's just to summarize why I said earlier, let's make sure we have some of that stuff automated and delivered to solve people's problems.
That's quite important, just for a second, because while I was in America recently, we had a top publishing agent, in fact the agent for Brendan Burchard's recent book, Millionaire Messenger, and he was on stage and he was talking about the 4 reasons people buy books. Of which 2 of them, and 2 of the really important ones, are they are either buying a book, and I would suggest this probably pertains to products as well. They are buying a book or a product because it is the answer to a problem they know they have, right? Or it is the information to help them take advantage of an opportunity they perceive they have access to. So I think there's 2 really distinct things there. So it's either be clear which one you're selling as an expert. Are you selling the answer to a problem that someone has, or are you in fact giving people the tools to access an opportunity that they believe they have, right now? So, for example, I know for a fact one of the ladies on the call right now, Diane, is a phenomenal branding expert, and she helps companies to reposition their brands in a way that enables them to get access to opportunities that they perceive exist in the marketplace. So, absolutely really strong in terms of how she does that. So I just think it's just interesting for me because those 2 things really resonate, not just to me on books, but also on products.
I think that's a key point. And actually, if I look at the book we're writing, we want to open people's eyes to an opportunity that we believe exists in the marketplace. The expert revolution is not something they're looking for. They're not say, oh, I got a problem. Oh, brilliant, expert revolution. Haven't thought about that before. So I think that is a key. And when we actually talked about title and content, you helped us with the positioning of that book for that specific, pointing out an opportunity. And the last thing I want to just quickly point out, when people talk about audience, I want to be very clear here. We try to educate people on what is an audience, and many times people say, oh, I got a database, brilliant, I'm just gonna blow some emails out, and now strangely enough nobody buys. Yeah, when we talk about audience, we're talking about any way that you can communicate with a segment of that list that you can talk to in different ways. And the idea here is, and this is why my definition is quite unique here, it's a targeted group of prospects and customers you can communicate with at will. And that means either in a room, in your program, via webinar, via email, via direct mail, via newsletter, via phone, but you have the control over that communication. That is what I call an audience. They are there to listen to you. If you can create following, if you can create connection with that audience, then of course your message can be heard. And many messages need to be told more again and again. We know that. I just want to make sure I define that. So this is not just an audience having a room that you command or having a stage, as powerful as that is any way that you can control communication. And if I say that, this is not putting an ad in a newspaper. You don't control that communication. Yeah, this is about you having control over the communication and having targeted communication with different sub segments. If you look at the little graphic, this is something people don't do enough. It's segmenting your list. This is not one audience. Every part of your audience needs a different communication. The better you get at segmenting communication, the easier it will be for you to give them what they're looking for, and therefore, of course, generate more revenue.
Yeah, the old message to market match thing kicks in there as well.
Absolutely.
But I still go back to the thing you said earlier, which I love. The phrase is cultivate buying audience. That we've all believed and been taught marketing-wise that a buyer is a buyer. I've got a question here from Peter Smith, and by the way, if you've got questions, feel free to type them in the question box. Apart from everybody asking when is your book published, which we can answer at the end of the call, it's published when we sign off on the next coaching session on the date. Is probably the real answer.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there's a question here, which is, what is the difference between expert and an authority? And I'm interested in your take on that. What's your perception of the difference between an expert versus an authority?
Very interesting. I'm not exactly sure, Paul, to be honest. The distinction I would make from my experience that an authority is not necessarily somebody who chooses to go out and let people know about it. So an authority, an expert is for me somebody that makes an effort to go out there and communicate their expertise and their message. An authority is for me more like someone who's got maybe the knowledge, but
something like that, or a scholar, or I have somebody that I worked with. This is about 3 years ago now, who was one of the UK's top criminal specialist who got called in by the police to give forensic evidence on gun crime. Now, he is absolutely the UK's top authority, and he can charge a lot of money when he gives testimony and stuff. But he's not. He's an expert, but he's not an expert making a living from doing what he does in terms of in the wider marketplace. He's an authority, and therefore he gets called to give his testimony. But he couldn't turn that into products. He couldn't turn that into coaching. Because it's based on incredibly specialized knowledge that he holds in his own head and isn't replicatable. And I think the distinction I would make for Peter on this call is that, for me, an authority is someone who has unique knowledge that can't really be replicated because it's based on experience, whereas an expert is somebody who has distilled and documented then their knowledge and expertise in a way that allows them to teach it to others.
Yeah,
somebody should write that down, because
that was good. I recorded that, and I'm actually glad you answered that question partly. The reason why we use the word expert very much, though, and you would find that there are word trends appearing in the world, and it would make a ton of sense if thousands of people start using certain language around a certain topic, then that is the language to use. I mean, you could in a way say it's the guru industry, but it's not. It's called the expert industry for the reason that those people have chosen to publish products and start creating following, and that is I think, I don't know if the actual word definition is that different, but that's my take on it, at least.
Okay.
I can't see the questions, Paul. So if there are any more questions, if you just want to fire them away
just
before.
People saying that they're really enjoying it, and that they're loving some of your graphics from earlier with the two sides to the.
Oh, thank you.
That sort of earlier was good. Can you put the mind map up again very quickly? Can we go back to that at all?
Yeah, I got 3 slides on some of the online stuff that we should be doing, and then I want to jump on the mind map and leave the mind map open the questions and go in a bit of more meat for people.
All right, cool. Let's do that.
I think because of your long introduction, Paul, it's we're running a little bit late.
I'll take ownership for it. All right, fair enough. Sorry, everybody, my bad.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay, now here I'm back at my blog as an example, and what we found from studying hundreds of these personal branded blogs, that some elements are standard. For example, we use always a header graphic that is custom designed with a professional photograph, and I remember Paul talking about the expert toolkit and how shocking that most people don't have a professional photograph and or a bio. Now that's obviously part of what you need for your blog, is an about page with a good story about your journey. We call it a then, now, how story. And guess what? This is a story about then, to now and how you did it. And obviously that should be achieving successes, overcoming adversity, the standard, we call it the hero journey. And most of us have some of that in us, because, if you haven't achieved anything, then you're not an expert. But if you have achieved something, then tell the story. Tell them how you did it, because people will be looking at you and see if they can replicate your success. If you offer them tools, frameworks, stages, steps, formulas, systems, they will love to get where you are. That's the whole idea of becoming a leader, become an inspiration and an aspirational position. What I want to point out to you is not just the opt-in element in a gray column just below my picture, which allows me to, of course, build a prospect list and send information to people. Remember, effortless communication with target markets. But even more importantly, to the right of my picture, you see a little thing called follow. Now that is, in that specific case, a plugin for WordPress, but don't worry about technology. What it allows people to do is quickly check me out on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and via RSS feed. And if you don't know what all of those are, many of them, or four of them, are social media platforms where I communicate some of my message as well. And I've taken a couple of screenshots for you so you can see what I mean by that. These are my books. Don't know what they do in here, just as a reminder, I suppose. Books. But here is a Facebook page, and that is directly linked from my blog. Now, people want to not have to worry or think about it, just want to go quickly to your Facebook page. You can see here we got updates on there, you got your friends, they can follow you, and that's a slightly customized page. There is also a Facebook fan page. Now, my personal Facebook page is different to my fan page. My fan page is where people can follow me. You have this notion of having being a public figure, and that might be managed by your social media manager, or you might choose to do it yourself. But understand, this is the same difference as talking to your family and talking to strangers. Is like having your private Facebook page and your public Facebook page. So I would urge you to consider that, having a public profile or a Facebook fan page. There are a couple of great tools you can use to collect opt-ins there. There is ways to increase likes on there. There's different strategies you can use. There's
a great product actually called 5-Minute Fan Page, which is really good for doing stuff like that.
Cool. I mean,
yeah, it's really good for creating fan pages in like really quickly.
In about 5 minutes. That's good. That's why it was called. So this is a Twitter page, and again, what most people don't do, but is easy to do, is actually to create a customized Twitter background. And when we do that for our clients, then we normally tie it all in with their existing brand. So we use the same kind of imagery across the brand. So this is customized Twitter, and again, it's directly linked from the blog. This is the LinkedIn profile. Again, you can do a lot with LinkedIn profiles. There's some great examples out there. Make sure you got some kind of images on there. If you have a slideshow that represents what you stand for, videos, and of course, we know from LinkedIn that the average profile is like a six-figure a year dollars, at least, so $100,000 a year earner. This is a great market for professionals.
Okay, so there's somebody on the call tonight, Alan, who's one of my mentors for Business Wealth Club. He just picked up a high-paying, big internet multinational corporate client off his LinkedIn profile, because we did some coaching for all the mentors on how to structure their LinkedIn profiles.
Cool.
And I think you got to structure it to get the SEO traffic that you want, even inside LinkedIn. And for me, the other thing that makes a big difference is if you've written a book, your book should be on there, and it should be at the bottom section with the Amazon plugin and stuff like that. And certainly SlideShare, for me, using SlideShare in there is a big tool, because it absolutely really makes a big difference. And obviously SlideShare is plugged into Facebook quite heavily now as well, isn't it? So
absolutely. I mean, what is a little bit of a sign of the times, you will have to do more than one thing, and you can have this fully managed, do it yourself, or do a part job, but you got to make sure you maintain at least those 4 or 5 elements. If I just quickly jump back to that slide, it's got to be your personal blog. It's got to be a Facebook page or Facebook fan page, your LinkedIn profile, a Twitter existence, and some YouTube channels. Now, I'll show you quickly one of our YouTube channels. This is a relatively new channel we have created. We got a few hundred videos on there over the years, and it's just a great way to kind of build another presence. I mean, you can actually see here. It's a recent screenshot. There's the expert formula that we covered with Paul in August before he spoke at our event in September. So videos from YouTube, and again, YouTube is a search engine. Understand that people are looking on YouTube. Billions of videos being consumed on a regular basis. So if you do that right, you can actually drive traffic from YouTube back to your page, and all these things should play together and be orchestrated like a proper band, like an orchestra, literally. So this has been the little overview, and if you guys still want, if you're interested, I'd love to just open a mind map and delve a little bit into one of the aspects of that formula. And let me just do that.
Well, they're all still on the call, so obviously my intro didn't scare them off too much, so that's a good time.
That is a good sign. Let me do that. We're gonna look at Mind Jet Manager. Let's see what happens.
So, so if you've got a question, now's the time to type it in, because obviously you've got Daniel and me sitting here on the call, so we can answer these for you as we go through the three, go through each one in more depth if we need to, and if you're on the call and enjoying it, then let us know and we'll keep going. So, because there's no cell on this call. How cool is that?
Fantastic. Okay, guys, actually, now I'm out of my PowerPoint presentation. I can actually see your questions. So can I just have a bit of feedback, what it is I can help you with, or just let me know, are you enjoying it so far? Are you still awake? Anything, let me just know. Hello.
Yeah, they're still there.
All right, that's good. Okay, nice, looking good. It's good, brilliant, fantastic. Okay, Nick's still positive. That's good. Hey, Nick, excellent. Good to see you there. Brilliant. So what I'd love to do is, because this call was actually titled about online brands, so I want to talk a little bit about the sub points here. Now there are lots and lots of details to everything, and we don't have time for all today. So let's talk about this. We split the online brand into three sections. One is clarifying your vision, one is creating your online avatar, and the third one is claiming your expert status. And I want to just quickly go into the first one here. When you're talking about your online brand, you need to first actually have a clear idea of what is the business model you want to run. And although that sounds simplistic, most people have never considered that question. What is the business model? What kind of outcome do you want? And this is actually even before you create your online brand. And you want to make a distinction here. Are you a product or a services person? Now, if you have an existing business, that online brand might be an extension to what you do, but if you are actually starting from scratch, then you've got to make a decision on how big, what is the ideal business model. Do you want staff? Do you want offices? Paul has mentioned two examples today where people with one PA or by themselves do massive turnovers. Now, Paul has chosen to have a small office. Some of my friends have large offices, but they actually made a distinction to design that. You know, you shouldn't end up with an office by accident. I heard a funny joke yesterday. Somebody said to me, "The Jewish curse. I wish you 50 more employees." You know, a Jewish kind of. So if you don't,
oh, that's not. That's cruel.
It is cruel, you know. So you want to make sure if you have 50 more employees, it is because it is your strategy to do that. Yeah. So that is very, very important. So that's the ideal business model discussion. If you talk about future lifestyle, again. Many of us got dragged into reading Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, only to realize that Tim is working 16 hours a day. You know, so
it's one of the greatest contradictions in modern publishing.
Exactly.
Here's my book on the 4-Hour Work Week, but I work 60 hours a week. Whoop.
Yeah.
Anyway, but there we go.
I mean, we know how he did it, by the way. I mean, it's a great tip of testing your book title using pay-per-click advertising, and he chose the one that got the most clicks. But you want to make a decision on your future lifestyle. Are you working full-time, part-time? Define your scrape by ideal and next level income. Again, when we coach our clients, many says,
hang on a minute, slow down, because I love that definition, and I don't think anybody ever thinks about it like that. So just walk us through those three, because everyone could do that in the run-up to the new year, right? So this is a real practical how-to moment. So what's the three type of income levels that everybody can be focused on? What are those three numbers?
Yeah.
Just walk us through those two.
The way we define it, the scrape by number, the ideal number, and the next level. And we did it on purpose. We defined those terms because I want people to identify in their business what is the number you need, you really need. That's the scrape by level. This is just to make sure you pay your bills, keep your lifestyle the way you're running right now, okay? And that is the number you need to know. And you will be surprised if I ask people on one of our coaching programs, so how much money you want to take home? Guess what? They all say the same. It's always five or 10,000 pounds, ironically, and it's normally 5,000 if the guy next to them says four, and if the guy next to them looks more intelligent, then it's normally less. Okay, so it's arbitrary, and it's always based by a very simple equation in their mind, which bears any reality. So I would like you to make sure you define those three numbers. What is the scrape by number, the ideal number, and why I call it next level, because we obviously want to make sure we have a growth target in our business. And once you got that, you need to worry about access models. Again, that's a distinction most people never think about. But when you define your business and you want to talk about what you're selling, is the product you're selling a no access, a mixed access, or full access product? Like the coaching sessions we have with Paul, that's full access. I need 100% of Paul every time we meet. Okay, and that obviously poses questions of scalability. So if you say, I'm a coach, okay, here I'm in a full access model, I'm selling an hour for £25, and my take-home income is ideally £10,000 a month, I can tell you right now, that ain't working. Those numbers don't add up, my friend. Okay, so in simplistic terms, you get that. But have you ever sat down and work out how much from your income, that is your ideal income, the £10,000 a month or 100,000 a year, your arbitrary number, where does it come from? From which product, in which access level? And if you hate people generally, then I would strongly recommend to not go into the personal brand and expert business altogether, and definitely don't create a lot of full access models, okay? Because that is not what you want. But there is no access models and products, and we have worksheets to that help you define what they are. So this is really to the lifestyle. The choosing the right customer, that is really one of the most important questions you could ask yourself, and that will influence very much, by the way. This is even before you create your online avatar. You need to understand that, because a James Caan type blog compared to a Jonathan Budd or a Katie Freiling type blog, that comes from knowing who the ideal customer is. Now, when you create those profiles, we have some great exercises for that, but we just literally advise people to kind of think about, give him a name. What is his name? Where does he live? What does he read? Where does he hang out? Which websites does he go to? What magazines or TV programs does he watch? Does he watch television at all? I mean, what newspaper does he read? And what I think is key here, that you're gonna think about polarizations. The people who do the best out there are people who turn certain people on and turn other people off. I actually heard a really interesting distinction. A branding expert once said, when you design your brochure, he calls it, an American guy, if you design your brochure, write a brochure and think, who would totally hate that piece so much that they will tear it up and shout in anger and said, I never ever want to deal with that person. If you achieve that in your brochure, there will be some people who just absolutely love what you do. So sometimes it's easier to think about what certain people would hate, to create that polarization first, and then go to the other extreme and say, okay, that means those people will just love what I do. And here is another distinction I want to point out to you. When you do that, please think about low, mid and high range profiles, because many times the people who buy your automated low-end products, your $27 or your £100 home study courses, will be a different client than the one who buys your top level product. And I don't mean that the staircase is dead. There's people who literally walk through the staircase, they buy the first product, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. But some people are just high profile and they want to buy your top stuff. They're not going to go through every step. The example I normally use when I teach that is, if you go to the restaurant, you are entitled to have your dessert right away. They're not going to force you to do your no sir, you haven't ordered your starter yet. You know what, I want dessert right now, or give me the main course, or I just want a drink. Okay, from the menu of stuff available, certain people want different things, and you shouldn't force them to consume them in a certain order. Yet I see many people do that. So when you create your perfect customer, make sure that you think of them in three categories. Who is the ideal low price customer? In our case, these are worldwide people, okay? They consume our automated coaching programs. No access model, fully automated support. That's my ideal low price customer. Now, my ideal high price customer is a business owner in the UK turning over at least 500,000 a year in a service based business, okay? That's a different customer. They have a different name, there's a different profile. So think about how that applies to your business. And of course, what do they need? And that's really important. What types of products and services can you offer them? And even further, think about, and this is important when you early in the business, what can you actually offer them immediately, and what can you offer them later on? And then you can break it down even further and say which information products would they need right now, and which physical products can they consume right now, and so on. So you can see how this breaks down very nicely. And when you start filling in the blanks here, you can create a much more powerful model. Why is that important? Because some of those products and services will be able to be delivered automatically, and of course add to the range of products you can sell automatically and create more revenue for you, and of course more profit for you. So this is the first step. Clarify your vision. Who is still with me?
Yeah, still here.
Good. Okay, now we talk a little bit more about the online avatar, because I think that is a piece that is important. Oops, I shouldn't have opened all the things at one time.
Yeah.
Let me
I'm not sure we're going to have time to go through every single bit of those, but I think,
yeah.
I tell you what's interesting. I tell you what's interesting. I don't know if anybody else would give you this feedback, but I can't remember seeing many kind of webinar or trainings where people have had interactive mind maps as opposed to PowerPoint after PowerPoint. So I think it's interesting to see, because it gives people a sense of there's so much more depth and substance to what you're talking about than just the initial three pieces. So for me, I'm really enjoying seeing you talk through this. I'd be interested to see what other people think. But
fantastic!
I like the stuff. I think it's different, and I'm not saying that just to blow smoke in your direction, but genuinely, I think it works sitting this end, looking at it this way. So
okay, thank you.
Personal blog, cool, great.
What's actually great about it, Paul, because you've only seen some of that stuff up to level 2. So now I'm going into all the detail that we mapped out, which is of course in the book. So this is literally some of the book outline you're seeing here right now. So if we go to creating your online avatar, and this is why I want all of you to pay attention. Remember, the online avatar is what you want people to perceive about you out there. This is the part of your reputation you want to really control. What can people find when they Google your name? What can people find when they go out and want to find out about your product and service? And I want to make a mini distinction here, if you can still take some more information in, that every product you create could potentially have its own branding out there. There's a product branding, but they all would sit underneath your personal brand. We only focus on personal brand right now. So let's look at the personal blog. A couple of must-dos on a personal blog without going into too much detail. It's just those 4 things. Make sure you got a custom good-looking banner, because WordPress allows us to have good-looking websites very quickly. Make sure you stand out. Make sure that when people see your blog, it just looks top. I've shown you 5 or 6 examples at the beginning of this webinar. Make sure your about page is a story, and I want to know what you've been through to get to where you are today. We all love the hero story. The hero story is, I had problems, then I overcame them, but then I ran in problems again, and guess what? I didn't give up, and now I am where I am today, and I'm eternally grateful, and this is what I made it my mission to share my message. That is the standard hero story, and you see it in every successful film out there. It's facing adversity, overcoming adversity, facing even greater adversity. Normally the second adversity is something to do with inside, overcoming some inner kind of challenge, and then winning. And by the way, most of you will have that story, believe me, you don't have to make it up, okay? Make sure, number 3, you have strong social media links on there. I mentioned to you, we want Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. Don't miss out on any of those 4. Everything else is bonus. There's another 1,000. You can go to Bebo and other, but focus on the big players. And make sure you let people opt-in, make sure you offer in exchange for an email address a valuable report. The 7 secrets to, the 7 biggest mistakes to avoid, the 5-step strategy, the 4 pillars, the 3-step formula, whatever it is you do, whatever you've broken your knowledge on.
Framework, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's all about having a strong framework there that you were just because I think you were reeling them off, and I just wanted to make sure everyone was listening, because the way you were saying them, 3 steps, 4 steps, framework, four pillars of this, it's a framework that people can go. And interestingly enough, in NLP, neuro linguistic programming, when you look at the number of things the brain can naturally remember, the optimum level is no more than really between 7 and 9. So anything, the 13-step principle it's just too hard. People's brains can't take it. So, just interesting from a framework point of view, just to think about that.
I totally agree. And actually, that's one of the things we teach. I just want to open it up for a split. Oh, sorry, not everything. For a split second. Sorry.
You scare people.
Yeah. No, sorry. It's not that you have to do it all, but actually, very important what Paul just pointed out. When you map up your product staircase, before you do that, I want you to go out and design a framework. And how to do that is very simple. I mean, again, I don't break down everything, but I want to show you. What you do is this is, by the way, I could spend a whole day on just doing that, because this is so powerful. People go out, oh, I want the product. Oh yeah, what does Johnny do? Oh yeah, I just copy Johnny. Yeah, without checking if Johnny does it right. It's the blind leading the blind, and the one-eyed, being the king in that land of the blind. This is ridiculous. You got to actually work out, and this is how you do it, guys. You reverse engineer your results, break it down into steps, and organize it into a sequence. Okay? And I'm sorry to make it sound so simple, but that's unfortunately all it is. Okay, you've achieved the results for yourself and your client. Reverse engineer what you did for them, break it down into steps. Okay, I would suggest, as we said, 3-step formula, the 4 pillars, the 5 ingredients. Don't make it too complicated.
6 gears.
Yeah, the 6 gears, like Paul has done, or the 7 secrets, and that's it. And organize them into a sequence. And guess what? What you're looking at right now is exactly what we've done. We've broken down the success we had with our best success stories and said, wait a minute, it looks like we've done 3 things with them. We create an online brand, we produce some powerful products, and we help them cultivate a buying audience. So what you hear right now is a reverse engineer of our biggest successes into 3 simple steps. Of course, there is detail to it. Of course, there's stuff to do. But that's just to give you a bit of illustration what Paul just mentioned here. So the framework is very, very powerful. And that is the opt-in element. But this is how it all hangs together. Let's look at the social media. And what we do here, the simple why to social media is because the world is, I'm just reading this fantastic book, Paul, you might actually look at that. It's maybe a book of the month for you guys. It's called Who Cares Wins. It's a great book which talks about this notion of radical transparency. And in today's world, you've got to be aware that everything is radically transparent. You are visible and transparent to what you do. And I don't know if yesterday PayPal got a massive beating, for example. PayPal have shut down a charity and literally just closed their account. And suddenly thousands and thousands of people complained on PayPal's website and literally spammed their social media. Every time PayPal got a notice out, people were saying like, hey, you bastards, closing down the charity, what are you thinking? So a big business like PayPal is suddenly in the public eye via social media and gets attacked and gets literally chastised. And I want you to be aware that this is the world we're playing in. So you want to make sure that you keep a check on what's going on in Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And what I like you to do is just have a simple checklist what you want to happen in Facebook. Now, first of all, what do you communicate? Remember, it's the difference between your inner circle friends and the message you want people to see. Remember, advertise what you want them to know about you. YouTube, you want to show people how to do that properly. The Twitter, you want to tell the Twitter story. Normally Twitter is a short update that might link to a piece of content or take people from that online world to an offline piece. And of course the LinkedIn, make sure you use graphics to kind of illustrate what you do in that. The last piece on this online avatar when you do the personal blog, the social media, is number 3, reputation management. Keep it very simple here. Now, what is it? When people Google you, they literally that's what they know about you, and they take that for reality. Now, Dan Kennedy,
Can I just tell you? Can I tell you a really, really, really important story? Okay,
yeah,
that
go
I've
for it,
never
go for it.
shared. Right. So when I was out in America the last couple of weeks, big publishing agent was talking about exactly this, and he said that he had a lady in her. She was mid to late 40s, 50s. She'd just written a book. It was a cookbook, and it was brilliant. She had a high six-figure advance on the table. And when that happens, what happens is the publishers basically go and do a really deep dive background check on everybody, and they do an extensive Google search on everybody, right? Because they want to make sure that there's no bad, negative stuff in the past, in the closet, whatever, that that they don't know about before they start pumping millions into promoting a book. This lady's entire book proposal deal was scuppered by one Google reference to her, which was made when she was 22 years old. Bear in mind, she was in her mid to late 40s, early 50s now, and it referenced the fact that when she was married to a different person, living in a different state, and it was her, and it was on page 58 of Google listings of her. Page 58, they went that far back.
Bloody
It
hell.
referenced the fact that for a short period of time, like less than 6 months, she ran a swingers club in Florida. Right?
You
It's
know,
a true
Paul.
story,
After all
right?
this, I thought there must be something quite significant, okay?
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
okay, now at least
So,
she ran a swingers
but
club, and
but
that
she
is
lost. But think about that, right?
that
Like
is
on
serious,
page
man.
58 of Google, and it blew a six-figure publishing deal out the water, dead. So, like whatever we've all done in the past or whatever, if it's out there, we've got to be aware of it and preempt it or manage it or clean it up, right? Because I mean, that's just who'd think stuff from your past 22 years ago would come back and haunt you, but it did.
Here is, and Paul has got this great skill of mind reading, which he developed carefully over many years, because he knew
Yeah,
what I would
it's
be
my
saying
next
next.
book.
Exactly, yeah. So, because what I'm doing here, guys, why is it important, reputation management? Because internet has legalized graffiti. That means anyone can suddenly blog about anything, can comment on anything. It's come to a level where hotels go down because somebody leaves a bad review on
Yep, and
TripAdvisor
restaurants.
and restaurants. Yeah, so you gotta manage this stuff. And here's the scary bit: it takes years to build and only seconds to lose. And unlike a CV, it can't be easily changed. Remember when you wrote your CVs in the old days, when you go for a job interview, you always think, okay, which bits of my past will I blow out of proportion to make sure it looks right in the eye of whoever needs to see that? Now you can't do that anymore. It is level playing field. Everyone can find out everything, and it is historical. This stuff doesn't go away, as Paul just highlighted very, very quickly. It stays there forever. So this is the 21st century CV, and this time, unfortunately, you don't type it up on your typewriter. Okay, it's out there already. You don't influence what they see, so keep a tab on that. And why do you need to do it? It's very simple. Or what you need to do, sorry. Monitor social media. Check what's happening with Twitter and Facebook. There are some great tools online that literally give you feeds into your inbox, into your blog. And here's a simple tip. Create a Google alert for your brand or your name. A Google alert, just Google it, type Google alerts, and what it does, it scans the web, the whole internet, for updates where your name has been used, in which reference. A little bit like a Twitter hashtag, or in Facebook, somebody tags you, you get notified. And Google Alerts allows you to see where you're mentioned. And I'm pretty sure, Paul, I haven't checked it, but I'm pretty sure you got Google Alerts set up for your brands and for your name and everything, so you
Yep.
know. Yeah.
But yeah, I have, and somebody posted a blog article about me once, and it came up, and I actually went and read the blog article, and it was really good, and I sent them a private email and said, "Hey, listen, thanks for posting that. Really appreciate it," and they were shocked that I knew it had gone up. But
Scary.
here's an easy little trick that a lot of people don't talk about with Google Alerts is if you want to be keeping an eye on your competition, you can obviously do Google Alerts for your competitors. Which will tell you what they're doing and when they're getting mentioned, and when they're turning up online, and if they're launching new products and stuff, you can find out about it the very same day. So nice
Ooh,
little trick
very
to leverage
nice.
keeping you.
But I
Yeah,
thought
there you
when we spoke last, didn't you call it did you call it co-opetition? Did you do that? Oh,
You can obviously work with your competition, but it's nice to know what they're doing before they do it. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
actually, yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, there's a couple of sneaky tricks which we cover on a different webinar. Brilliant. So let's go to the third piece of this little piece called Create an Online Brand. And by the way, because it's now 9:30 and we're 90 minutes on the webinar, and what's amazing, everyone's still there. So I just want to make sure, guys, are you happy for me to just cover one more bit, which is about
Yeah,
how to
finish
claim
it
your
off.
ex?
Come on, we've come
Oh,
so far.
you know, these people thinking, I hope he finally gets me some decent content. I've been waiting 19 freaking minutes. Open up this last
Leave
thing.
it. It's all good. Come on
Okay.
in. Come on in.
Okay, let's go for it. So this is about claiming your expert status, and this is what we found from our best success stories, including our own, what we
So
can do.
I'm just reading some of the posts with various people going, "Bring it on!" It's like now become an endurance webinar. It's become the first endurance webinar of its kind. It's the
Yeah.
expert endurance
Go
formula.
ahead.
If
You,
you stay on the webinar for 3
what do you
hours,
call it? The expert endurance formula. Yeah, excellent. That's good. Okay, so the claiming your expert status is literally split into three little subsections. And the first thing you want to do is the expert positioning. The why, I think, is pretty obvious. You know, we know you can make more money, have more influence, and more freedom. So that is pretty obvious. Let me just close that again. Then this is the what. What's important about expert positioning, you can claim it, it's not granted. Now, I mean, that's just one sentence, but please, please, pay full attention. You can go out there and claim your expert status. This is like, remember the Americans, they just carry their flag around, and whenever they can, they just bang it into a piece of land and say, this is now mine, okay? And this is how in the old days, people used to just claim land. Now, expert status can literally be claimed the same way. And how are you going to do that? So you literally go out and say, you know what, I'm an expert in, boom. That's it. Claim it, and then all you got to do is back it up with a bit of proof and stuff, and we tell you exactly how to do that. This is how to do it. The first thing is you use the then now how story. In essence, what the then now how story is, you talk about transformation. People want to know what changed. I used the simple formula, the A to B formula. Daniel, 5 years ago you were broke, now you make millions. How do you do it? Then, now, how? What changed? How did you achieve it? Examples. Use exercises if you can. Tell people what you've done exactly. Then we go to publishing your knowledge. It's very important that you get your knowledge out there. And you see that the book is just one of the ways you can publish your knowledge. And what is great about it is, once you have the framework, remember we talked about creating the framework, all this is so much easier because you can write an article. I can now sit down and write an article about any of these subtopics that I just talked to you about. If you ask me today, Daniel, why don't you talk about an article, how to claim your expert status, write about expert positioning, boom, here I go. Then a house story, publish your knowledge, earn the right. And these are all different ways to publish your knowledge. Some of them you might be aware of. You can write articles, reports, newsletters, blogs, books, interviews, podcasts, live performances like stage stuff. And I'm not going to go into more detail here unless you want me to. And that is the...
People have to get to bed tonight.
Okay. And the only other thing is I would want you to work on earn the right. Now, earn the right, I'm using a very simple formula, which is for how long have you done for how long have you done what, and what have you been able to achieve for people, and that is literally a very simple 3-step formula. If we talk about Paul, and Paul actually has it down to a T without maybe even knowing the formula he uses, or without knowing Paul, he pretty much knows he forms a formula. But the formula is, hey, I'm Paul Avins. For the last 7 years I coached so and so many people, created so and so many millionaires by doing this, transforming businesses, showing them how to find more profits, more blah, 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 blah. And this is what he does. And this is the A to B. That's what he's achieved for people. I want you to have your own earn the right and follow that certain structure. And that is really a very, very simple and important part about your expert positioning. Now, important is that you find unique positioning. Remember we talked about it, the Santa Claus earlier. What was unique positioning yesterday might not be unique positioning today. And I want you to just follow the Marmite effect. Think about polarization. Think about who would love you and therefore who would hate you. And I know it's tough for many of us, including myself. I want to be loved by everyone, but this is not working. So you're going to choose a marketplace and you choose polarization. In our industry, GoDaddy, you might know about GoDaddy, the largest domain registrar. They actually have done a really good campaign, and they have alienated a lot of people, but they created a real polarization about GoDaddy. They're using some quite abrasive advertising during Super Bowl, and that's how they position themselves as an expert, through a special message. If you want to get some ideas how to do that, talk about your values. And that really is what you stand for, what you stand against. And out of that, you naturally get a polarization. Okay, very, very straightforward. What is important as one more piece to that is you got to think who you're positioning yourself with. Now, you might not have come across that, but in every industry, Paul, myself, we have followers and readers, or followers and clients. We got peers and colleagues, and we got gurus and leaders. And with all of those, we have to find our unique positioning. So there's different stories. I tell a different story today when I spoke on and worked with this gentleman today than I do when I talk to my clients. And these positionings are different. I have a different positioning when I talk to my joint venture partners, my strategic alliances, or if I talk to gurus and leaders that I am a student and follower of. So I hope that is clear. And then we talk about social proof. That is the one thing that you can start right away. You can literally look at the social proof. Why are you claiming to be an expert? And you can literally do that by using simple, Robert Cialdini example is that obviously we believe other people more than we believe our own testimony. So if Paul says, I'm a great coach, we're thinking, okay, you would say that, Paul, because it's you talking about yourself. But if we have case studies and proof about Paul's results, that's a lot easier. What's important for your expert positioning, your expert status, that you want testimonials from students, people saying, wow, Paul's such a great coach, peers, that I say, you know what, Paul, he's working on my stage, we're peers, we're doing, that's another testimonial, and he wants a testimonial, Paul is working with Brandon Bashar, so Paul wants a testimonial from Brandon saying, Paul is one of the best students I ever had, he came into my mastermind group, he took action. So you can see here we got 3 levels of testimonials that all help you to cement your purpose and status.
And I've not seen that before in that way, and I'll tell you, it happened to me. I went to Joanna Martin's speaking course for the second time, and she'd watched some stuff, and from stage, unprompted, and I just wished I'd been able to video it, she gave like a 3-minute testimonial of my some of the marketing stuff I'd done to promote myself as a speaker.
Wow.
And promptly stood up in front of 180 people and said, Paul's a great marketer, you should go talk to him at the break, which was about the best lead generation 15 minutes of my life. And because of the authority she had in the room. And you're right, if you can get, I went up to her afterwards and asked for it on video, but they wasn't being recorded, which was a shame. But if you could have, we've got one of Michael Lozier, say for example, raving about the Business Wealth Club. If you can get those kind of testimonials or endorsements, I'd even say they're almost more an endorsement from experts, it's just unbelievably powerful. In fact, yesterday, my favourite story yesterday, we had a member at the Business Wealth Club in Oxford who played a video testimonial that I think is probably one of the most powerful I've ever seen, and it was from Formula One commentator on BBC TV, Bernie Ecclestone, and it was Bernie sat in his back garden at home just talking privately and really relaxed and not being polished like on TV, and just talking about this, the client who was member who was talking about how he changed his life, helped Jordan racing become more successful, and just how this guy was basically the best thing, and anyone who's considering using him should use him. And everyone in the room just basically said, look, whatever you do, send that video out to anybody who's considering working with you before you go, because basically that will pre-sell anybody. And it's just that, if you can get people with a media personality to give you those kind of endorsements like that, it's worth so much.
Absolutely, but I think what is key, and you just said you never heard that before, is that you're not just looking for students, look for peers and gurus as well. And in my case, I want people to know that I'm extremely serious about what I do. I'm very passionate about it, and my students know that. But I want my peers, people I work with on stage or people I do joint ventures with, I want them to know my values, and I want them, and this is how I position myself. Everyone who works with me knows that I'm a man of my word. I over deliver every time. I'm always on time. I'm very punctual. I pay on time. I'm very clear about the money. These things are values that I chose. I made a clear definition in my unique positioning. What are my values? What do I not stand for? What do I hate? And we all have that. And then just let people know what you stand for. And then let them know and ask them for a testimonial. And here is a key point that I want to just drum home here. You want to make sure you structure those testimonials. Don't leave it to chance. Don't let people just ramble on. Tell them what you want them to say. Tell them, you know what, hey, I would love you to get this across. First, make sure they agree to it. Of course, make sure that this is something you really stand for, but then make sure there's not just, oh, I really like him, he's a great guy. How do you structure testimonial? And again, we're using the then, now, how story. Before I came to Paul, my business was in shambles. Now it's all structured and clean. It's because Paul has the the 6 gears or the 6 turbo steps or whatever it is. Yeah. And that helps people.
But I also think the emotion's really important, and talking about, how they felt before they came into a program with any expert, right? And then how are they feeling, and so that people can relate to the emotions, because sales is based on emotion. So how are they feeling, and how has their life changed, and what's the result they got, and how do they feel now by comparison? And I think that contrast brings into effect one of those other laws, the law of contrast. And I think, we teach in the Business Wealth Club about six key questions that you should ask clients to give you testimonials, because it structures them. And that is absolutely, how were you feeling before? What were you nervous about? What did you find? What were the results? What would you say to somebody else? And I think it's just a structure helps people give that feedback in a way that's digestible. So there we go.
Cool. So I just have to say, sadly, we had our first dropout. I think he died of exhaustion after 96 minutes, but everyone else is still on the call. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay.
He did apologize. He said,
he said, guys, but he said, fantastic, guys, but I got to go. Yeah. So, okay, here's one last really important content piece I would love to share, and this is something that you might not have heard ever before. And if you joined us late, we're here on creating a personal online brand. We're talking about claiming your expert status. We're in the social proof part. There's a couple of ways how to do that. There's audio and video and types and strategies I'm not going to go into, but here's something that you might have never heard before. You can create social proof with your own results. Okay, and that's pretty obvious. Okay, there could be results about the people, the company, and the product. Now that's really important. This will be a testimonial for me, Daniel Wagner. Daniel is a great guy. Here's a testimonial. Obviously not great guy. We talk about tangible product, tangible results he's been able to achieve in my business. Company would be Wagner Watson Inner Circle Coaching Group has achieved that. And it could be for a product. It could be, the Blueprint Coaching Program or the Platinum Group. Yeah. So please understand that these testimonials can have 3 types of focus. It could be directly related to Paul. It could be to Paul's company, the Wealth Club. It could be to a specific product, his high-level private coaching program. Please understand the distinction and also how you can use that. Now, I can't go into more detail here, but here's something that is really empowering. This is borrowed proof. Now you might be sitting on this and, hey Daniel, great for you to talk. You created a lot of wealth for many people. Easy for you, Paul. You've been working on this for 7 years. Now here's a strategy I want to share with you called borrowed proof. Now who would like to know that? Okay, bring it on. Exactly.
We've come so far. Come on, we've come this far. Stop teasing. What's the borrowed proof?
So the borrowed proof is actually where you can go to just borrowed proof from leaders. So example, I'm an NLP coach, and you can actually say to people, you can say, you know what? I know NLP coaching works because of Tony Robbins. So you use Tony Robbins as your people example. So a person can say, I'm working with a brand new coach. We can say, you know what, this is the same strategies that Tony Robbins is using to create lasting results. This is the same strategies I'm using. Can you see how I'm using borrowed proof? I'm using Tony Robbins' story to sell the person I am, because he's an NLP coach, so am I. Even if I don't have the results yet. Obviously, that works with companies. Here's an example. I'm a new guy with Herbalife. I've sold no products to nobody. I've taken one of the pills and I still feel a bit dizzy. Okay, not much proof, correct? So, but you can always say, you know what, guys? I work for this company who for the last 20 years has changed the life of hundreds of thousands of people through their products and services. And this is somebody who can be brand new to an industry who can use borrowed proof. And you can do that. Think about how you can use borrowed proof in your model. You can say, you know what, our property as a wealth vehicle has been proven again and again. Even if your own product or service or your company has just started, you can say, I'm teaching the same principles. I'm in an industry that has created hundreds of millionaires. Even if you have not yet created millionaires, you are using borrowed proof in different levels. And of course, you can do the same from a product. In our industry, there is a product called the Product Launch Formula by a guy called Jeff Walker. And a friend of ours, Jason Fladlian, actually created another product called the Poor Man's Launch Formula. And he literally used the word launch formula so everyone knew that he was referring to the product launch formula from Jeff Walker, which is already a proven product. That means the borrowed social proof from Jeff Walker's product launch formula was implied in his product. And that's so powerful because immediately we knew the Poor Man's Launch Formula would be a cheaper version of the same content. And that is a really, really powerful strategy how to create borrowed proof for people, company, or indeed product.
Okay, just a quick question for you, coming in from Ian. Good question, actually. Daniel, you may want to think about how you answer this. Is the Expert Success Formula Mind Map available to buy?
Wow.
That's a great question, Ian, and it only took us 1 hour 45 minutes to beat you in the submission to ask it. But,
okay.
But anyway,
okay.
But what is the answer to that question, Daniel?
The answer is how much. Everything is for sale. Everything is for sale. They say. Now, Ian. Okay. Now that's actually, thank you for that. Now, first of all, it tells me that you like it and you see value in it, unless you want to buy the original and destroy it so that the world can never see that knowledge again, which I hope is not your intention with this question. So, sorry, Paul.
Somebody get this man a pretzel, okay?
So, I think the answer is right now it's not available to buy, Ian. The best next step for you would be to actually buy the book when it's available, because the whole book, Expert Revolution, will be based around that mind map, and obviously we're teaching our products and programs around it. So right now this is not available, not for sale. We will be giving parts of it away as freebies to enlighten people on the product. But if I show you all the detail, there's a great little thing here on view. I can say show all detail, and that just gives you a bit of an idea. Show all levels.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would say is for those people who want, yeah, as you can see, there's a lot there. And for those people who want to find out more, then obviously as they go to your blog and join up, they'll get they get to stay in touch with what's going on. If they're a member of the club, they're going to get the book anyway as part of next year's book of the month. And I'm sure in some ways we'll be able to persuade you to come along and possibly do another presentation at one of our open days when you can go through some more of this stuff. But
I definitely love to, Paul. I mean, yeah, definitely love to. I mean, the one thing I would say, I mean, as we said, what we wanted to do today is just give you a bit of an outline. Hopefully there was some value in there. There was some tips and tricks. The fact that everyone, apart from one person who apologized profoundly, is still with us tells me that we've given people some good stuff. As Paul said rightly, there's nothing for sale here today, but I want to be honest with you. What I wanted to sell you on is the idea that there is an expert industry out there that creates a massive wave of money, and if you want to grab a little bit of that cake, there is a way to do that by following a formula. If you want to know, actually, by the way, if you want to learn more about it, just let Paul know, and Paul can get in touch with me. So if you want anything
me an email. Shoot me an email if you want. We're not giving this recording out. We may well sell it at another point, but for everyone who's on this call, you got all this information completely free of charge, which was one of the things we wanted to do. What I would just like to do, because any good coach should wrap up any good kind of coaching session with a couple of questions, and my question would be, if you wouldn't mind for us typing into the box, what's been your top learning or top takeaway tip from the last hour and 45 minutes? What's been the top distinction? What's been the top learning? Personally, honestly, for me, I think quite possibly we should be doing a report about the fact that PowerPoint is dead for webinars, because I think mind maps are so much more interactive.
Thank you,
much
Paul.
better. So what's been your top learning or your top distinction from being, and Eddie, thanks ever so much for the feedback. We appreciate it. It has been fun to do this tonight. So Alan French says polarization, the Marmite effect. So
thank you, Alan.
Love him or hate him, there you go. If you go to his wealth club, Alan, he will polarize you one way or the other.
Okay, now here's a great distinction from Sean. He says he's borrowing success from other experts. A very clever strategy to get social proof when you new or don't have powerful stuff. Okay, anything else?
I mean, absolutely. I think that's I love that, and actually I used that when I first started my coaching career within the organisation I was in. We used to refer to stories from other coaches within the organisation and talk about the organisation's results. So there's kind of a little borrowed social proof there, which is good. So yeah, who else? Come on, what other kind of top learnings have we had tonight? I'm sure lots of people have been scribbling mad notes. I've had 2 or 3 texts coming in from people saying how much they're enjoying it. So that's always brilliant. So any other final shares or questions for Daniel, so that he knows that he's really kind of fulfilled on his promise, which now we know that Daniel has a personal value to over-deliver. We may well budget longer for webinars in the future.
Yeah, and
apparently Eddie is checking page 58 of Google to see if he's in trouble with
yeah,
his online brand. So it's good to know, Eddie. That one's stuck, so that's great. Roger says that he liked the way the process built up step by step, the ladder, and mapped out a route towards claiming his status as an expert, which is brilliant, which is great. Sean now realizes that it's important to have fun. God, seriously, did we sound like we were enjoying tonight? Oh my gosh, what a
yeah. I do think that
love what you do.
That's really one of the key things I want to get across. I mean, most people do work in the job just to make money, and I really think those days are over.
I was on TV last night on that terrible program about money beliefs, where the woman just said, it's just what you have to do. Suck it up, do a job you don't like.
Oh my God!
And to get the money you want. And I was like, God, how depressing to buy into that myth. But
I mean, I think suck it up is not my strategy for life, to be honest. No. But actually, it is a great one. Yeah, great one, Nick.
Great. Yeah, you can take. You have to take responsibility for your virtual self. Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah, very true. Good one. Great distinction. So yeah, I really enjoyed tonight. It's been an absolute blast. I can't believe, seriously, we've gone an hour and 50 minutes on a webinar. That's kind of quite crazy, but it just shows you how much fun. And scarily, we're only into the first of the 3 steps of the formula. So if you'd like to now, let us know if you want to be around for the next 2 weeks. That'd be great.
Cool.
We'll be doing another 6 hours of webinars to catch the rest of the content later. So that'd be great.
All right. Now listen, Paul. I mean, thanks so much for staying on, because I know I heard a few alarm clocks go off actually in the background while you were on the webinar. I don't know what it is.
That was just to go and make sure JJ had actually gone to sleep. But he's gone and taken care of that.
Sure.
So all right. And actually, it was texts coming in from other people actually, because Roger was texting me and a couple other people going, "Oh, this is great."
Is this
a great question, which I think we should answer because it's only fair. I'm interested in following the mind map to achieve similar success. I've not seen details of the book. What is the title? Obviously, Ian must have missed that. It's The Expert Revolution. Have Amazon got a link to it? No, because it's not out yet.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
the membership I'm referring to is the Business Wealth Club. Yeah. So if you're on my list, if you got this email, you will be getting probably a pre-launch announcement about the book, Daniel, to say people can grab an early copy. I think we're going to be doing that, aren't we? So
yeah, definitely. So the book is The Expert Revolution. It's about make more, work less, have fun, and do it now. And that is literally the framework I shared with you a little bit today will be in the book, with examples, with case studies, with the mind map, how to follow and what to do next. Guys, I want to really thank you for spending the evening with me tonight. And
we're gonna go.
Yeah, it's been absolutely
we're gonna go. Take care, everybody. It's been an absolute blast, and thanks for all the feedback. And Absolutely brilliant. All right,
Hey,
take care,
Paul,
Charles,
Paul,
Sean,
Paul.
Nick, everyone.
Hey,
Yeah.
Paul. Just before you go, Paul. Oh my God, Charles had his first webinar. Guys, they're not. Charles, sorry, they're not all like that. They're normally, they're normally done
No,
within an
no.
hour. Okay, but Paul,
Yeah, yeah.
what was your biggest takeaway? Because you haven't seen a lot of the micro detail we mapped out now. So was there anything in there you thought, you know what, that's been a good takeaway for me as well?
My biggest takeaway is the fact that you guys have actually been working hard when you told me you had been, frankly, because I was beginning to question some of it on Friday nights when allegedly you were working, but clearly you have been. So that's good to see.
That's good.
No,
All right, guys,
it's
thanks
great,
so
mate.
much.
Our
It's been
PK hangs together, so it's good.
been an amazing evening. Really enjoyed that. I hope you got some value from it. I know you do. And I want to thank Paul very much for allowing me to share it with you guys. And I look forward to seeing you soon at one of our events, or indeed getting in touch. If you want to know more about the Expert Success Formula or the Expert Revolution, just shoot an email to Paul. He will then pass it on to me, and we'll see how we can help you put these things into reality. All the
Indeed.
best, yeah? Take care.
All right, guys, take care. Thanks ever
Bye-bye.
so much indeed. And Daniel, thanks for giving from the heart for so long. It's
You're
been a
very
pleasure.
welcome.
All right.
It's been a great joy. Take care. Bye-bye.